Hi. We are talking today about our usual putting the real in real estate, but this time we've got a little bit of a bent toward realtors and being a realtor and prospective realtors and hopeful realtors and new realtors and maybe even some seasoned realtors who are looking for a little real perspective. We're talking about the idea of being a rock star millionaire real estate. They do exist. We're going to talk a little bit about how they exist, but it is often an unrealistic expectation when people come into this business. And so we want to talk to you a little bit about the real stuff. So I'm Ruth Sheehan.
I'm Danielle Tully.
We're with eXp Realty. And we see oftentimes Facebook ads that are targeted to us. Usually it's somebody selling something, surprise, surprise. There's an old saying that if you want to make a fortune in real estate, sell something to realtors.
And I think trying to, I'll tell you.
It's really, really true. So, you know, the Lamborghini pulls up and the guy steps out with his alligator shoes and fancy suit and super hot haircut and says, I'm going to teach you how to get everything you ever wanted by being a real estate agent.
Sure.
And it's usually in 5 easy steps for $999 or something like that. So there are lots of ways to earn a good living in this business, but it's not easy. It's a lot of hard work that generally pays off. But anyone who comes into this for the easy money is typically
not renewing 2 years later.
Yeah. So the statistics are a little bit elusive, but there are a couple that are sort of
generally out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So usually it's in the 10% range. I see anywhere, I think we talked about like 87%, 93%, somewhere in that range. We hear that because every 2 years we have to renew our license. We have to have a certain amount of different continuing education. So sometimes it's ethics, and sometimes it's just whatever topic we want, and we can kind of combine it, which is why Ruth and I often utilize that time to get another designation or do something a little bit more concrete than just taking a class. We're working towards something else. Like
make us better and help our clients.
Yes. So the accredited buyer's representative or the seller specialist or things like that. But so they say that about 10% last from one renewal to another.
So within 2 years, somewhere around 90% of that new crop of real estate agents is out of the business.
Yes.
And I think and then for those who stay, the averages again. So this is average means nobody actually hits that, right?
Right.
The average realtor sells, I think, 5 houses a year.
Mm-hmm.
And the average income is around $40,000. So that average income, by the way, does not include expenses. And that's gross. And of course, it's an average. So that means some make $400,000 and some make $400,000.
Yeah.
So we do run the gamut. Don't forget, if you're joining us, to pop into the chat and say hello. Let us know you're here. So, Danielle and I we've outlasted the 2 years by an awful lot. And we are solid professionals in this business. We're not millionaires, probably not gonna be millionaires as real estate agents. And that's okay, because we also like to sleep and eat and do a couple of other things occasionally.
And to that kind of maybe we were going to get there, but I just want to say that is one of those things that really is another thing that people don't understand, that these guys and these girls and these ladies and these teams with all these fancy photos and there's constantly a pressure that if you're not tooting your own horn, if you can't say you're a millionaire maker and that you're useless, that you're not good enough, that nobody should look at you. And just because you do the fancy and the flashy
and the expensive
does
which
not.
A lot of these people, I would like to see their P&Ls. We've heard a lot of stories about these, some very well-known, flashy, out there agents who, when you look behind the curtain, you find that they have taken out second mortgages, and that Lamborghini is financed for the next 20 years, and they live and they live hand to mouth.
Yeah,
if they're lucky. So constantly always putting out marketing to fill the void, to put out more marketing to fill, and it creates a crazy cycle.
Right.
And there, that next success can be very elusive. And we find a lot of people in this business get turned off by that, because it can be, really wearing, really burn you out to constantly be chasing the next goal, the next level of either, raising your price point or getting more transactions, or just work a little bit harder and one more
transaction. Never satisfied, always going up.
Yeah, exactly.
In seeming success, right? We see plenty of people, we know of teams across the United States and locally and all this other stuff, that because they're out there saying they sold X amount of houses in a year, you know how much time they're actually giving their clients, if the clients even talk to them.
Yeah.
They might have a team dynamic where everybody just puts it underneath them so that they can promote these crazy numbers. But if you do the numbers, in reverse, which is always my thing, I'm always like, okay, wait, let's take that number, reverse it, and go, that's one or two people. How did they basically close one a day or two a day? By not doing, by having somebody else do it completely. And
then there's also we use our team because it strengthens us and it gives us backup. There are solo agents who have, the opposite problem. They're taking on tons of business and don't have time to make sure that balls don't get dropped, to make sure that I's get dotted and T's get crossed. And this is, there are expensive mistakes in this business.
Right.
So that can happen as well. So, and that, both of those are that same mentality. Someone will remain a solo agent because they don't want to split it. They don't want to let go of anything. They don't want to let go of control. They don't want to let go of the glory of, I work this hard, and you know what? Really, there's all of those. When you're on your deathbed, nobody's going to care.
Correct.
Nobody's really going to look at your stats and the plaque you got from your office that said you were in the presidential club or whatever. The people will remember the people that you helped, buy and sell houses. If you did a great job for them, that's where you can really make a lasting impact in the world. And that's probably the thing that I didn't expect from the beginning, was how emotionally rewarding it is to help somebody make a transition in their life.
Yes, I've got to say that was, and I think I might have said it here before. I've told a lot of people this, is that when I got in, I kind of was in the false, what we're trying to prevent people who are like, ooh, the market's hot, I might as well become a real estate agent, make easy money. And we're trying to say, yeah, there are people who get into it. I didn't think I was going to make easy money, but I thought I was going to make some side money. And this was going to be this kind of thing that, like I said, we were talking before, but there's people who are like hoping that their cousin's brother's, stepbrother's roommate calls them out of the blue and says, I'd like to sell and buy a house. And then they wait for that. and they don't actually build a business. They don't have it, because you really come into this with nothing. They go, here you go. You've passed your test, and then you go to a company, and hopefully you go to a company that provides something for you, but there's many who don't. And you're kind of flailing around, not knowing what
Yeah, and let's take a step back there, Danielle, because I think this is one of the things that people who are not in the business, and honestly, everybody just tells you, go get your license and then come and talk to me, right? So you have no idea what you're walking into unless during breaks your pre-licensed teacher spends some time chatting about what the business is really about, because
Right.
you learn nothing in your real estate class about what we do day to day and how to run a business in real estate.
Yeah.
I think the first thing to know is that it's not a job. It's a business. You're starting a business.
Correct.
When you go to work for a big broker, we work for EXP, you're familiar with Century 21 or Remax or KW or many of the others. You don't go there as an employee. You go there as an independent contractor who is about to start your own business.
Correct.
Those brokerages say, here are some tools we have. You can look at them, you can choose the ones that work for you, and then you go out and start your own business. And by the way, I'm here if you have any questions. That's pretty much how mostly it works. Now, Danielle mentioned teams. We have a team, but ours works a little bit differently than most do. With most teams, it is structured a little more like an employee-employer relationship. Still not, but it's a little closer to it, where your team leader does all of the marketing for the team to generate the business. Business doesn't just exist. We actually need to create it. So that's the first thing. You need to be your own marketing department and learn how to market yourself so that people will hire you to help them buy or sell a house. Mm-hmm. A team will do that for you. Some brokerages do a little bit of that, at least marketing the brokerage. Right. I'm not sure that's as effective as it used to be, but that is something that that they offer. And
most times it's, you're one of however many, sometimes hundreds in an mm-hmm. office. So if they get a lead, it goes either to their favorites or whoever's next on the list.
And also, in fairness, to the person who's going to turn that into business, not right. the person who's going to forget to call or doesn't mm-hmm. know what to say or any of those things. Right. So that's a big part of it too. So when you come out of real estate school, you don't really have any training on what to do day to day. You get a license to learn how to do it. Someone said it's not even a business. You just bought a farm and now you need to buy seeds and equipment to till the soil and condition it and do whatever they do on farms to be able to plant those seeds.
Right.
And then you need to make them grow, and then you need to harvest them.
Right. Absolutely. And learn how to, yeah, exactly. That's crazy. But that's super accurate because it is just the first step in a huge, an undertaking that's probably more than people think.
And it's expensive. There are a lot of fees involved. You start with the class, taking the class, and it is great. It's a sales position. You don't need a degree. You don't need to go and get a certificate. You don't need to take your class at a college. There are lots of options for taking the real estate class, but the real estate class has one purpose. What's the one purpose of taking the real estate class, Danielle?
To pass the test.
To pass the test. When you pass that test, now you have a license to learn how to be a real estate agent. That's what it comes down to. Yep. So you have to figure out how and where you're going to do that. And that's expensive. So you might hire a coach, you might get into a training program, you might start with a company that has a lot of training. Most companies charge for that training.
Yes.
Ours doesn't, but most do.
Right. But that's not a bad thing either. Like when you're taking somebody's time and they're going to walk you through, that's another thing I didn't realize when I came in is that, I thought I was going to be able to do it all on my own. And it would have been a lot easier and better for me to understand that I should probably pay a mentor or some sort of, get somebody who would really walk me through that.
Yes, exactly.
As part of building my business.
You need to know that you are not entitled really to any money in your current position of just having a license. You may, you may find a way to make some, but you have to generate it. And if someone is helping you through it, then they need to be compensated because you are learning, you're hiring them to teach you. You're learning from their skill in the business, and they're actually going to get you from that first phone call to the closing table. And the odds of you getting there yourself are pretty slim. So when I started in the business, I hired a mentor. Again, I didn't really know what I was doing, but it seemed like a good idea. I think she was a good teacher. So my deal with her was that I would pay her half of my first 2 transactions. I went on the buy side and one on the sell side. I wished I had said, I will hire you to be by my side and I will pay you half of everything I make for a year or more. I should not have been so happy to stop paying her because then I had to, I would say by the time you do 10 transactions, you kind of have a little bit of a handle on it. And by maybe 20 or 25, you start to really know what you're doing. Would you say that's pretty accurate?
I would say so. But again, I would always say we're 90% because even, we
still don't know what's,
caught off guard sometimes or found something new. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. And things are always changing, right? Different types of markets and no market, even if, we go back to a buyer's market like we used to, it's not going to be the same type of buyer's market that it was a couple of years back.
Exactly. It's always different. And one of the things we had, besides mentorship, we had each other. And so Danielle and I kind of like used each other for the sounding board. I mean, we talked every single morning about everything that we were dealing with. What do you think about this? And if we felt we couldn't answer it together, we had someone else we could go to get a next level answer. But that's hard to come by. I think we both had other life experience that we could bring to it. We had a pretty good idea of lots of stuff that was going on. We shared resources that we got from other places. But I think, I always say there should really be an apprenticeship. You should come into this business and then you should work it for the length of time that it takes to really understand what you're doing. Right. We hear so many versions of fake it till you make it. And it's, again, somebody's house that
largest investment they'll likely ever make.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you're telling people just fake it. It's kind of ridiculous. So we're kind of working on putting our apprenticeship program together, but that's for another day. But it should, that's something that I think is lacking, and I don't think it helps realtors who get thrown into the deep end of the pool, and there's you have a license, so you are supposed to be a fabulous marketer. You're supposed to be great on video. You're supposed to be a writer. You're supposed to understand how to market houses once you market yourself to the effect that you get some business. You're supposed to be a master negotiator. You're supposed to understand market pricing, which is a phenomenally difficult concept.
You need to understand net sheets. Please understand net sheets.
Finances.
There's a lot of things that'll plop answers out to you to give to your clients, but if you don't understand where it's coming from, you're really not able to explain well to your clients, and it really doesn't do them. You have to understand how Illinois works with tax proration and how it's in the rears and how that gets, carried over, and things to look for that are even, senior freezes and senior exemptions and homeowners exemptions or not homeowners exemptions, and figuring those all out and being able to really help your client understand what they're asking for on the buyer side and what they are liable for on the seller side. So it's all goes into part of their net sheet, so they have it most accurate as possible.
Yep. So you need to be a finance major, a marketing major, a business major, negotiations.
Yep. Well, one of the first, and we haven't even brought this up, but one of our first mentoring programs that we did, the Buffini, right? He always talked about being a CEO, a CFO, and a COO.
Yes.
So you have all those three hats on all the time. You're dealing with your business and your own finances. You're helping others figure out, how to sell their house, and in the CEO, you're the leader of the direct sales and everything, and then the operations, which is the marketing and other things you are to keep that machine going.
And all the things, once you get somebody under contract, all of the things that you need to do during the process to get them to closing. Mm-hmm. And so you are not only the CEO, the CFO, and the COO, you are the sales manager and the salesperson. You are the marketing manager and the marketing person. You're the social media manager and the social media person. Yeah. You're the videographer and the star of the show.
Right.
And so you are every part. And if you're an E-Myth fan, he talks about putting an organizational chart together. And if you're a solo entrepreneur, you put your name in every one of those slots. That's what it looks like when you start a real estate business. Mm-hmm. So, hopefully, as you go forward, as I have, you can lean into the things that you do really well and get some help, hire some help to do the things that you're not so great at. But if you're starting this business without joining a team, you need to be all of those people, and you need to do them all very well. And if you don't do something well naturally, that means that you need to put the time in to do it well, whether it's easy for you or not, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
I don't know if you have any more points, but I had one that I would like to make. Mm-hmm. That is in sales, right? People think it's cutthroat, and sometimes it can be, I guess, if you want it to. But I think one of the best things that I came to realize very early on is that don't look at other realtors as your competitor. I think that Ruth and I and plenty of people in our area, realtors, have really formed bonds, and we work well with each other, and we work for each other, because we know that the better that everybody is, the better the industry is, the better smoother the transactions will be. And there's a lot of houses out there. Me and Ruth could not list them all. We don't want to list them all. We don't want them all to be our clients. We want you all to be our clients.
We want yours, yeah.
But we don't want that much work, and we couldn't do that much work, and it doesn't make sense. So and our ultimate goal, some people think it's to get our clients the best deal one way or another, and do it by any means. No, our goal is to get the house sold for our seller and the house bought for our buyer, and get it to close and get everybody happy with the keys being transferred. And so taking that as an adversarial role to the other competition is not helpful. So see it as everybody as a chance to be a partner with you, another agent, and let us know if you're already a realtor and you want to be part of our cool groups that really help and support each other. Yeah. We'll let you know about that.
We'll give you the password.
Yes,
maybe, if we like you.
And the secret.
But cooperation it's not even a buzzword. It is a word that's intrinsic in our profession. Cooperative compensation, clear cooperation. These are terms that are legally binding terms in the production of what we do. So it's almost always true that when you're buying or selling a house, there will be another realtor involved. if we are, as Danielle says, adversaries rather than partners, you know, we might be able to come back to you and say, I got you an extra garage door opener.
Correct.
But it's more likely that when you go to put an offer in a competitive situation, and you were the guy at the table who insisted that somebody run to Home Depot and get another garage door opener for their buyer client, and your name comes across on a contract with multiple offers, guess what? You're going to lose that offer because your agent's a jerk. So the same thing will happen on the other side when, you know, when the markets shift. So when we know that somebody is a good cooperator, we expect them to advocate for their client. We're not talking about that.
Of course.
We all do. But when someone is just a jerk, that does not do their clients well in the long run once that reputation gets out. So cooperating and being an agent that people want to work with and being generous and collaborating. I mean, I collaborate with agents all the time, and I learn so much more than my small brain would be capable of on its own. So I can draw strength from them as well. The next thing we want to hit on is splits. So, I'm sorry, we mentioned fees, but we didn't really go into them. It costs probably about $1,000 or $1,500 to become a real estate agent, between your pre-licensing class, your test taking, maybe some additional study aids, then paying for your license, paying for your, you must, pretty much must be a member of a board. Technically not, but in reality, yes. Be a member of a local board association, and then pay MLS dues. So the MLS is our catalog of inventory, and we all pay for access to that.
Lock boxes and Century access.
Yes. And then signs.
What?
Signs.
Yes.
So your basic marketing tools before you get into any of the big stuff, signs and lock boxes. And if your board doesn't provide it, Century Lock access. And then most of those are renewed on an annual or semi-annual basis. There's also continuing education. Danielle mentioned, we're required to take a certain number of hours of education each time before we renew our license. So that's an additional expense. And those are the basic fees that anybody has to pay just to get and then maintain a license. Then we have splits. So we're going to start with broker splits. If you join a team, there's a team split as well. But a broker split is, as we said, you come to that brokerage as an independent contractor. You're going to pay them for that privilege. There's some different structures that are available.
Right.
Danielle and I have been with a few brokers, and we've experienced a couple of different models.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about a couple of them?
Well, there's a flat fee, which is what Ruth and I originally started out at. We had 2 flat fee brokerages.
Because we didn't know any better.
Pardon me?
Because we didn't know any better.
Well, yes. And that's what I was just going to say. Again, starting out going, oh, this isn't going to cost me very much. It's only X a month. But that X a month, because they generally don't provide a lot of help, is so that's cheap, but you're definitely sinking or swimming on your own. Those are definitely, you got to think about that. And then there are many that have kind of a percentage split, as well as some of the bigger companies have franchising fees, which is a percentage that never goes away. There's some that have, caps, a percentage until it's capped, and then usually an additional monthly fee as well. So they range. Sometimes, depending on how much you produce, you can renegotiate. But I don't know. I kind of like the.
I'd say 10 to 30% is probably pretty typical range.
I don't know if I've ever seen 10, to be honest with you.
When for top producers.
Right. I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Once you eventually make your way up there, I meant initially. Usually,
you're really looking at 40 to 50%.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So so there's splits as far as that goes. So that basically means that once you get your percentage check after you've also you don't make money until you close. We never made that. Like, you work for months before you get your first paycheck.
Yes.
And that's at the closing table. And then once you get at the closing table, whatever that total was, you get that, your percentage gets taken out, and because it gets paid directly to your company. That's a whole nother thing too. We should talk about that one day, is what that means.
It goes to the company, and then you actually get a portion of that. So the commission belongs to the brokerage. We like to call it our commission, but it's not. Yeah, so when we come to you and we say, we'll sell your house and we'll charge you X%, and you look at what that is and you say, wow, you're walking around with a lot in your pocket, understand that that's what goes to the brokerage. The brokerage, most brokerages have bricks and mortar. They have rent to pay. They have to turn on the lights. They provide, some office space, maybe computers, a printer, things like that to their agents.
And they have the managing broker. They have to pay for the managing broker. There's a guy or girl there, women, sorry, men or women, should give them a little respect.
Where girl.
There to, answer the questions and make sure that basically, again, because licensing, the way that works, they're responsible if people are screwing up. So they have to be the people to make sure that everybody's doing things on the up and up.
Yeah, and they're a business, so there are expenses and there's profit, and all of that gets built in.
Like our business.
Right. So they should supply an amount of support that matches the amount you're going to pay. So when I first started, and I think Danielle, and I think really most agents, even though we were talking about, astronomical amounts of money in one check compared to checks I'd received previously in my life, I still felt a little bit entitled to whatever that huge amount was, and felt like I was going to be giving it away to someone else.
Well, it was weeks worth of work, right? I mean, you're talking weeks and months.
4 months.
In many cases of work that you're finally getting paid for.
Right.
So it does seem crazy, but, and even though it might only be a couple hours here and then a couple hours there and a couple hours there, there's this, you'll find out mentally, the clients will sit on your mind at all times. You're always
you're also, when you start, especially, I mean, we're still doing it, but when you start, your job is to learn. So we spent hours every day of learning about how to do this job. Right. So that goes into it. Somebody said recently, I get paid for the years, not the hours. So when we come and we can do a CMA on your house in a couple of hours, that is because we've done hundreds of them. If we hadn't, that would first of all not be accurate, and secondly, you'd spend a lot more time on the market. So all of that education for all of those years goes into what we get paid. But in the beginning, you think, well, I have a license and I put my time in the class, and that's not really realistic. Again, going back to the team model, teams will typically sometimes get you paid something from the beginning. So you might have specific jobs for the team that you can get paid for while you're learning. And then eventually, when you get to the point where you are closing your own business, you're paying a considerable amount to the team, but the team is the one spending all the money. So your check might be lower, but you've got nothing else to pay out of that except your own personal business fees. My first year in real estate, I made $10,000 and I spent $20,000. So when you're paying in just, a bulk amount out of each transaction versus finding all of those things, paying for them, paying the people to customize them, whatever it is that it takes. Some brokerages have a whole lot more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so do some teams. So you need to look very closely at what does that split mean? What does it stand for? What's included in that? And to, in fairness to myself, when I first sat down with brokers, and I had a business of doing online marketing, and brokers were telling me that, we had an ad in the newspaper and a bus bench and a billboard. I knew that was not going to be very effective advertising, and that I was going to be spending my own money anyway. So you do need to look at that. Say, what if this team or this brokerage is not offering me exactly what I'm looking for, and I'm going to create that myself, then where's the best environment for me to do that?
Right. Absolutely.
So, and I said something recently when people were talking about, trying to find the best split and the lowest fees in a brokerage. I said, I think this is, universal advice across the board for real estate agents. When you go to talk to somebody about taking their listing, oftentimes, and understandably so, the first question is, how much is your commission? And people ask that because they want to be able to do the math, and they think it's a subtraction problem. They think that it's purchase price minus commission equals what I walk away with. First of all, there's a lot more subtractions in there, but it's an algebra problem. It's X minus Y equals what you walk away with. Right. And the reason for that is that purchase price is ever changing. Yes. So you get a skilled agent who can nail that at the highest part of the range, then you might subtract that commission and end up with one number that's very different from somebody coming in and saying, well, I only charge blah, blah, blah. Right. So you have to maximize that X number, and then Y isn't that important. So the same thing is true of brokerages. If you walk in and you say, well, I want a flat fee of $500 a transaction, and I just want to pay, $80 a month. Chances are you're going to be spending a whole lot more money of your own trying to make your business a business.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. But it's still, it's fun and exciting, and it has its definite ups and it has its definite downs. This isn't supposed to, we're trying to encourage people, but we want everybody to go in there because of that 10% success rate that we talked about.
We should bring it up. We want it to be so much more than that.
Absolutely. We want this to be a success for a lot of people, but knowing what they're getting into, that you likely won't be covering your salary or current income the first year, or maybe even the second year. It might take many years.
And if you first of all, if you have some passion for this job, secondly, if you put in the time, effort, and energy, and have a little bit of talent for it. I think sometimes, it's mostly about work, but it's not just about work. You have to be kind of good at it too. If you put that in for those first 2 years, you may not make much money in that time. But if after that 2 years, you decide you want to be that rock star agent we're talking about, you are going to have everything you need to jump into that.
Right.
If you want to work your butt off and sell 50 or 75 houses a year, you will absolutely be able to do it if you've dedicated yourself to your education and skill set those first 2 years. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably about the time that it takes most people to and that's why, most people get out at that point, because they decide they don't want to do that, or they're not, and not that everybody has to be the rock star. They don't want to do whatever it is that will get them to the next level, or they're not good at it. But if you are, you will have, the world is your oyster.
Yep. And like I said, you you just figure out what's good for you and your family or your situation, and go for it. There's a lot of people with opinions out there, and
yes. And again, big surprise to me, I came into this hoping to contribute monetarily to my family. I never expected to love it as much as I do. I never expected to, you see, one of my clients sent me a picture of her littlest boy in their new backyard, the first snowfall. And you just,
right.
It's amazing.
If you go into it for the right reasons. So yes. So if you're coming in here to be a millionaire agent, just to be able to buy those cars and be flashy and what, I don't know if you're in it for the right reasons. Yeah, you probably would have been in any type of sales, but I think real estate is a niche that not everybody wants to be your friend afterwards, but it doesn't have to be transactional. It can be personal, and it's really, really fulfilling when it can be personal, when it can be, helping somebody succeed in a goal that they had, And
if you do come in it for the wrong reasons, you're probably not going to get through those tough times. You're not going to get through the difficulties of talking your client through a huge disappointment, giving them the pep talk to keep going when they are, struggling. And so it's hard, I think, to ultimately be successful. So go buy dog eCoin or whatever it's called.
Yeah. No idea how this. I pronounce it differently every time. I have no idea.
I have no idea either. I don't wanna.
But if after you've listened to this and you're still interested, and we're happy to help, guide people and help them kind of, figure out, that's weird, that's different.
I don't know how that happened. Thanks, Lizette. No, you're the best.
We're happy to help people and figure out, really if this is a true goal, step by step, help you figure it out. And because we want, as I wore a shirt the other day, it says, we'll give real estate advice for tacos. I will give realtor advice for that or less.
For cheese.
Ooh. List. So hopefully this helped, kind of get a better idea of what it takes to be in the real estate world. And it's not all easy peasy, but it can be very good and rewarding and worthwhile.
And we just kind of really touched the tip of the iceberg here. We're going to work on putting together some videos that really go into the nitty gritty and smaller bites, and answer some of those questions, because I just feel we've had this conversation many, many times. There's unrealistic expectations set. Those who set the expectations benefit from the model the way it is now. They benefit from having a huge churn, and we'd like to see more real estate agents succeed in whatever that success means to you, which doesn't necessarily mean, you join one brokerage that's going to push you to call yourself a team 15 minutes after you get your license and start working on, building that and bringing agents to it. and faking it, or you join another brokerage that's going to be constantly harping on your numbers and telling you that you need to sacrifice your quality of life in order to change that. And we think that there's lots of room for lots of personalities in this business and lots of ways to be a success. We know people who are full-time parents and full-time realtors and can, we are switch it up. We do kind of have a problem with part-time realtors. Unless you're working with a team where you've got coverage, I think it's really, really hard to provide the level of service necessary if your attention is elsewhere or if your time is spent.
Well, that goes back to the partnerships, really thinking that you can come and do it and make it easy on your own is where you kind of need to be willing and open to working together with others, whatever that capacity is.
Yeah, and if you're looking at it as a side hustle, a little extra money, you're not really going to serve yourself well or your clients or the profession. So we do think you need to take it quite seriously. It's really serious business. Lizette can attest to the fact that buying and selling a house is complicated and important. And who helps you through that is important too. Yeah. So,
wow. We went long on this one, but hopefully a lot of good info.
Come join us, but come join us with your eyes wide open.
Yes, exactly. Because it doesn't benefit. It doesn't. We're trustworthy all around.
Exactly. All right. We will see you next week.
Yes. Take care. Good weekend.